Waflahayam, Shakpashwai, Waklisi, Daisla, Osio, Buju, Nigada. Hello, everyone. Are there other greetings out there that you want to voice in the room tonight? Salakiatsa, Aloha, Malawi, Shalom, Ate. All right, welcome. Yeah, I love to hear those languages. Welcome, everyone. My name is Kirby Brown. I'm a citizen of the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma, an associate professor of English and the director of Native American and Indigenous Studies here at the UO. I'm so excited to be in community here tonight. I just wonder if folks can just turn around, look around you, and see everybody who's here. This is an incredible sight with everything going on in our world. I'm excited to be in community and to welcome back to Kalapuya Ilahi and the University of Oregon writer, scholar, activist, economist, land and water protector, and Anishinabekwe Winona LaDuke, and her mother Betty, who is joining us here. If my memory serves me right, it's been about 8 years since Winona was here last on campus at the height of the Standing Rock movement. Many of you will remember. And the globalization really in that moment of indigenous environmental movement and resistance and resurgence. A lot has changed. A lot's remained the same. And there's much work still that we need to do. So tonight, I invite you with me to look forward to listening, learning, and being inspired by Winona's words and thinking together about the future we might all build together in spite of the chaos, division, violence, and hate that surrounds us in this moment. And word around the campfires, there's another address happening tonight. For my money, I'm glad to be at this one. So before we start tonight's program, I want to invite Grand Ronde Elder in Residence and my academic auntie, Marta Clifford, to offer an opening blessing that will set our hearts and our minds in a good way. So if you could please stand if you're able. If you have hats on, please remove them. Auntie Marta.
Thank you, Kirby. Sehali Tai, Creator of all things, watch over us tonight as we gather together to listen to the speaker. It's so important that we're here. It's so important that we stay strong. So important that we help each other. In these times, we need to watch out for each other. Watch out for your elders and the children. Take care of each other. Always take care of the water and the land and the animals and the birds. I humbly ask these things that you watch out for us as we go about our days. Please help us to stay strong. Please help us to take care of each other. And most of all, help us to show the love that we have for each other and for the land. I humbly ask these things. Sehali Tai, Hayimasi. Amen. You can be seated. I'm going to ask my family to come out. I brought some drummers from Grand Ronde, my great-nephew, and my great-great-nephews, and my great-great-niece. They're going to come out, and we're going to do a song for you.
Wow, that's a lot of people. My name's Zach. I'm a member of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. I'm a kindergarten teacher up there at our language school, and my auntie asked me to come sing a song for you guys, so here I am. And these are my kids, Eric, Aiden, and Abby. That was a salmon song. That's one of the songs that we sing in my school. That song is not mine. That song was caught by my coworker and another tribal member, Brian Crable. That song belongs to him. But hi, Mossy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Marta. Thank you, Zach and family. What a great way to put our hearts and our minds in the right place. Yeah? One of the ways that we do that here at the University of Oregon is to remind ourselves where we are. And so I'm going to leave the land acknowledgement up here for each of you to read. It's on these screens. But we start here with these kind of land acknowledgements in order to remind ourselves where we are, what our responsibilities are in the places that we live and work, and specifically to publicly honor the longstanding and ongoing relationships that Kalapuya people maintain to this place where we all live, work, laugh, and love together. We'd like to remind ourselves and our institutions of our responsibilities and obligations to advance Indigenous sovereignty, to prioritize Indigenous knowledges and lifeways, and to support Indigenous education and Indigenous students on this campus. We offer this land acknowledgement, which is developed in consultation with the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz, as a bare minimum starting point to account for our shared histories that bring us together this evening and to work diligently to strengthen those relationships and commitments. In this way, I like to think that such statements at their best are not just performative acts that we say so we can get to the real business. These statements are the real business of why we're all here. So they're the real business, especially so at public universities like the University of Oregon. So one way to meet those commitments is programming like tonight and elevating voices and scholars who have been doing this work and activists who have been doing this work for well over 5 decades. And so I want to, before we get going, I want to thank some folks. This has been a collaboration between the UO Native American and Indigenous Studies program, Community Rights Lane County, you guys out in the audience, the Native Youth Wellness Program, and the Upper Willamette Stewardship Network. As you can see via our arts vendors, our campus and community partners, this is truly a community effort in a time where such work and such relationships are sorely, sorely needed. I also want to thank our partners in our administrative staff, Lauren Pinchin, Annalise Steele, and Michelle Wright, and the staff at the EMU, especially Kristen Koch and Mike Ragsdale, who made this all happen. Let's give everybody who works behind the scenes a huge round of applause tonight. I want to thank you all for making this event possible and for reminding us what we can do together when we cut through the BS, when we hold each other up, and just put our heads down and do the work. At this time, I'd like to turn the mic over to Kunu Bearchum, one of our co-organizers, who is going to provide additional context for the evening and introduce our speaker, Winona LaDuke. Kunu.
Hello, everyone. How are you tonight? All right. Please make some noise if you love life. Yes. All right. For the tech folks, can we bring the house lights down? I'd like to share a video. Video here. So there's a beautiful book that was written by Carol Lindstrom and illustrated by Michaela Goad. It's called We Are Water Protectors. And I'd like to share that with you today, just as a reminder why we're here, why we do the work that we do. We are water protectors. Water is the first medicine, Nokomis told me. We come from water. It nourished us inside our mother's body as it nourishes us here on Mother Earth. Water is sacred, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. The river's rhythm runs through my veins, run through my people's veins. My people talk of a black snake that will destroy the land, spoil the water, poison plants and animals, wreck everything in its path. When my people first spoke of the black snake, they foretold it wouldn't come for many, many years. Now the black snake is here. Its venom burns the land, courses through the water, making it unfit to drink. Take courage. I must keep the black snake away from my village's water. I must rally my people. To stand for the water, to stand for the land, to stand as one against the black snake. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. It will not be easy. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, the winged ones, the crawling ones, the four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, lakes, the earth. We are all related. Tears like waterfalls stream down, tracks down my face, tracks down my people's faces. Water has its own spirit, Nokomis told me. Water is alive. Water remembers our ancestors who came before us, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. We are stewards of the earth. Our spirits have not been broken. We are water protectors. We stand. The black snake is in for the fight of its life. And I'd like you all to read these words with me, if you can read them on the screen here. It's the Earth Steward and Water Protector Pledge. I will do my best to honor Mother Earth and all its living beings, including the water and land. I will always remember to treat the earth as I would like to be treated. I will treat the winged ones, the crawling ones, the four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, the trees, the rivers, lakes, the earth, with kindness and respect. I pledge to make this world a better place by being a steward of the earth and a protector of the water. Aho! Thank you. So my name is Kunu Bearchum. I was born in Eugene, Oregon. I'm from this community, and it's an honor to have these opening remarks here tonight for Winona LaDuke. Please make some noise for Winona LaDuke one more time, please. That's why we're here. So I want to share, in 2016 I went to Standing Rock with some family members, and these are some pictures I took on the morning of October 27th at the Backwater Bridge here. This was a few hours before after I woke up, and the stormtroopers, as I call them, were on their way to come and kick us out of the encampment, Standing Rock encampment. I wanted to just give you some context of. Dim the lights. Yeah, can we dim the lights, please? Thank you. I just wanted to give you some context of where this energy comes from for us as Indigenous people to be continuing to fight for our rights, for the rights of our water and our land, and to continue to take on the responsibility of being stewards to the earth and being connected and being of the earth. They say that we are the land protecting itself, and that's something that Indigenous folks of Turtle Island we're trying to share with our relatives here tonight, our visitors that have come to this land in the last few hundred years, that we are literally of this earth. Our ancestors are in the ground here. The blood and the bodies of our ancestors are in the ground and in the trees and in the plants and all around us. So we are the land here. And so that's something I think that we're really always trying to communicate, how important it is for us to protect the land, because we are the land defending itself. And with that, I'm gonna just, we can turn this screen off here. There we go. So I'm here with Protect Lane County Watersheds, and we have an initiative called the Lane County Watersheds Bill of Rights that we're working on, and you all may have seen the little flyer that you're sitting on. So I'm going to share a little bit about our work, and then we'll bring Winona up. So community rights mean that people who live in our communities have the right to make decisions that affect our well-being. We are the ones directly impacted by the decisions and laws that are authorized by harmful corporate activities. We believe that corporate entities should not have privileges that elevate their interests above those of the local community, us. Protect Lane County Watersheds is the political arm of Community Rights Lane County. We believe that we have the right and responsibility to protect our watersheds, and that is far more important and life-affirming than the rights of the corporations who profit off the degradation of the natural world. Laws that allow harmful activities have to be challenged and replaced. So that's what we are going to do. We are working to get the Lane County Watersheds Bill of Rights initiative on the ballot to secure the rights of our waters, unpolluted by harmful activities, by big corporations and government. We know that our government isn't doing enough to protect our precious waterways, and they actually protect big corporate interests over the needs of the environment. The rights of nature movement is gaining momentum globally, and Protect Lane County Watersheds is an active participant. But we need your help. If you're interested in becoming a water protector right here where you live, please consider working on our initiative program. We are up against some very well-financed corporate actors in our community that don't want to see our efforts succeed. Angela Davis famously said, "Action is the antidote to despair." And current political realities have so many of us feeling disempowered and angry. So, we need you to join us in our work to protect our waters. You cannot be neutral on a moving train. And here are some ways that you can help. Number one, use the QR code to endorse and donate to the Protect Lane County Watersheds Initiative. Two, you can volunteer. We need help with fundraising, social media outreach, graphic design, event production, parties, artistic offerings, poetry, music. Every revolution needs a soundtrack. If this is you, please get in touch with us. We have our blue shirts, our Protect Lane County Watershed shirts. You can also attend a community rights action meeting, and you can find information on that with the QR code. You can also invite us to a house party, to a get-together, and spread the word. And finally, if you have not signed our petition yet, please do so before leaving today. You can talk to us in our blue shirts, the Protect Lane County Watershed shirts. You can check out our table in the back. And now for the reason why we are all here today. In 1996 and 2000, she ran for Vice President of the United States as the nominee of the Green Party on a ticket headed by Ralph Nader. Yeah, here we go. She attended Harvard University, where she joined a group of Indigenous activists and graduated in 1982 with a Bachelor of Arts in Economics, focusing on rural economic development. In 1989, LaDuke founded the White Earth Land Recovery Project, its goal to buy land back in the reservation that non-natives had bought and to create enterprises that provide work for the Anishinaabe. By the year 2000, the foundation had bought 1,200 acres, which it held in conservation trust for eventual cession to the tribe. And just this morning at 5 a.m., she woke up and got on a Zoom and was interviewed by Amy Goodman on Democracy Now!, speaking about the Dakota Access Pipeline lawsuit against Greenpeace that aims to silence Indigenous people's protests across the United States. So please make some noise now for Winona LaDuke. Thank you.
As soon as the trees come up. Anin Nindoe Maganadok, hello my relatives. So nice to see you all out there. I don't know how to get that. She's gonna do something magic here for me.
Do you need a water?
Many magic people will be here with me. You know, I knew this young man before he was born. Isn't that great? And that's what I feel like when I come here. This is my home territory too. Y'all know that, right? Indunjaba Oma King, Indunjaba Oma King. I come here from this land. I say that because my mother is in the front row. You want to give a wave, Mom? Just hold it. That's Betty LaDuke. You want to give it up for Betty LaDuke? She's actually the boss. And the boss is in the front row. So again, thank you so much for inviting me here. It's heartwarming to see all of you and to think about that these are the times that we must really work together. And this is an opportunity to do that. And so I'm honored to be here to join with you in that. As I said, Anin and Dinaway Muganatuk, that means hello, my relatives. And I do feel grateful to see, and so grateful to all those who work so hard to make this happen. Indun Jaba Oma King, that means I come from this land, but a king means the land to which, the very land to which the people belong. It's not like private property. A king. It means the land to which the people belong. That's kind of a different way of thinking, huh? And then there's Inda King Amin, that means the very land to which I belong. And I think that that is what we must all take into our hearts, that we belong to this land. We belong to these rivers. We belong to this place. And in that there is this reciprocal relationship where we take care and we give love, and she takes care of us. And so that is always what we must reaffirm, because we live in a world that does not reaffirm that relationship. And so it is upon us individually and collectively to reaffirm. So as I was thinking to speak tonight, I wanted to put my friend Ingrid Washinwatak up. This is the 25th anniversary of her assassination. She was assassinated in Colombia by the FARC 25 years ago, an indigenous leader from Menominee. And she was a good sister of mine. She was a co-chair of the Indigenous Women's Network for about a decade and did really amazing international work. She was courageous and bold and funny and just one of the most beautiful people that you would ever know. And I think about, you know, as I get older, because I have really more winters behind me than ahead of me. You know, I'm 65 years of age, as many of you may be too. And as I note that, and as I see my sister goes, or maybe another sister goes, and then I see some of my brothers come home. Did you see that Leonard Peltier came home? Right, my whole life. I just take a moment and say that was a great thing, you know. Joe, you were kind of a chump sometimes, but that was a good one, huh? Man, I didn't know that was going to happen in my life. But, you know, in these times, I think when someone leaves us, you know, in my life and in all of our lives, we carry like a basket. That's how I think of it, a basket of our cool things that we cherish. You know, it's not our will, it's our cool work. It's our spirit, the things that we cherish, the things that we value. And I think about when someone passes, there is this basket. And the things that are in the basket should be distributed so we all carry on. You understand what I'm saying? And so I've been thinking about this a lot, you know, not only as I get older, but also as I think about what it is that we do to keep intergenerational, or just to keep our knowledge, our teachings, our visions to continue. And that is what is this basket. So I thought about Ingrid tonight. This is some art from my community, Christy Belcourt. It is called New Beginnings. And in thinking about this time, and in all times, you know, where I am, the snow is still there. You know, I'm from northern Minnesota, is where I live now, not at home with my mother in Ashland, although very nice Ashland, very nice Oregon. But there's snow at home. There's no daffodils, right? There's no rhododendrons getting ready to pop. It is snow. And in that, though, each spring we know that it is a new beginning that can come. And that is part of what is the gift of our Mother Earth and the creation, is that you know that it's a cyclical life. And you have a new opportunity each spring to do something beautiful. That it is a time of rebirth and coming out of the quiet times of now, or the times when we prepare. Just remember that a new time is coming, and it is our opportunity, because we are the ones who are here to make this new time that is ahead of us. So this is where I live now, Gawawi-Egamug. I live on Round Lake on the White Earth Reservation in northern Minnesota. I spend most of my time there, and then I wander some, although I have not wandered as much over the past years as many of you. You've also stayed home. That's why I was like, I've not been to Eugene in a very long time. But this is where I live, and this is my life. That's one of my grandsons, and I'm a wild rice harvester. I'm a farmer. And I live in a place, I say, I live where the wild things are. Because that is true. On a worldwide scale, 75% of the world's biodiversity is in indigenous territories, right? 4% of the world's population, 75% of the biodiversity. A lot of the agro-biodiversity too. And so, as we look at the time ahead, we must take care of where the wild things are. Because that is where there is life. That is where there is spirit. That is where our relationship is always reaffirmed. And so I spend a lot of time fighting for the places where the wild things are, as we all must, but it also fills our souls and our hearts when we see those beautiful things, those beautiful parts of creation. So I think about, let us talk about making America great again. And this is my idea of when America was great. America was great when there were 50 million buffalo. That's when America was great, when there were 50 million buffalo. Single largest migratory herd in the world, living on 250 different species of grass, and the largest biome in North America, the Northern Plains, or the Plains, right? That's when America was great. America was great. There are still 800 varieties of potatoes, not bad, right? Now, why would you eat those Idaho spuds when you could eat something that looks that cool, right? These are pictures for the Potato Museum in Peru, right? And America was great when there were 10,000 varieties of corn, right? That's when America was great, when you could drink the water from every stream and river, and life was all around us. That's when America was great. So don't forget that greatness. Americans have a lot of, I think it's historical amnesia. That's a good case of it in some places now. But also we have ecological amnesia, where we forget what was there. Where we forget what is there. And part of what our opportunity is to remember what was there. And sometimes we can bring that back. I've seen it in my lifetime. I've seen the sturgeon come back in my rivers in northern Minnesota, and I have seen dams go down, right? I can see how we can bring back the greatness of America. And I have seen, and I know that you know, that we are all in the same canoe, the same Jimon. I like to show this art. You're an enlightened bunch because you're from Eugene. That's where enlightened people live, I heard. But, I was an undergraduate at Harvard, as Kunu said, and as an undergraduate at Harvard, when you wanted to go to see the art of Europe, you went to the fine arts department, and when you wanted to see indigenous art, you went to anthropology and the Peabody Museum, which is actually where I worked as an undergraduate. And so I say that because I just want us to think about the value system that says that European art is in the fine arts department, and art of people of color is not in the same department. And part of what this moment is, which is a moment that is in not only the time of prophecies, which is where we are, but it is the moment of absolute change, chaos, right? Crisis and opportunity. It is the year of the snake, I was told by the Chinese. Y'all follow that one? I was like, oh, that sounds horrible. They said, no, shed your skin. That's what my Chinese sister told me. She said, shed your skin. Make something new, right? So we are all in the same canoe. That's what we all are. And in that time that we're in the canoe, maybe it is a good time to shed some extra colonial baggage and such, shed some things that we don't need. Drop them. Because it is time to, as Arundhati Roy would say, it's a portal. That's what she talked about the pandemic as, a portal between one world and the next. That's what she said. It's a portal. It is, you know, pandemics always cause crisis. And in that moment, it's a portal between one world and the next. And you got to decide what you're going to bring through the portal. You're going to bring your, she says, you're going to bring your dirty rivers. You're going to bring your nasty data banks. You're going to bring all your bags. Are you going to walk through clean? You know, so think about this spring as this time when we say what it is we are going to be. And remember that is our power. So I want to talk about some of the prophecies that I have heard in my life. You know, I'm older now. And as a young woman, I got, and some of you heard these, a guy gave me one of these books here too. But you know, I am just to say that this is Thomas Banyaka, a great Hopi elder, and that was the first PowerPoint. He used to cruise around with that little, like a little tapestry thing or whatever that was, you know, and he'd unroll it and they'd say, there it is, that prophecy. Okay, so there, you know, I got to hear a lot of those cool old dudes talk. I got to hear a lot of those cool people talk in my younger days, and I listened. You know, we didn't know some of what they were saying, right? But he used to talk about this time in the world where there would be two paths ahead. It's not unlike the Ojibwe story of the choice between, in the time of the seventh fire, between two paths. It is said that we have a choice between one path that is well-worn but scorched, or a path that is not well-worn but it is green. It would be our choice upon which path to embark. And that's what our prophets told us so long ago as Anishinaabe people. We were told that. But I don't think that that's just us. I think we all have that choice. You got to choose a path. You got to choose a path. And Thomas was saying that too. And so he has these two paths that he would explain to us, that he would say we would have two paths as humans upon which to travel. And one path stays with the earth. You can see that path, right? And then the other path that goes up in the sky. And I think that that is the Elon Musk path. That's what I think. You know, I'm not absolutely sure, but that looks like the Elon Musk path, right? And I'm saying, stay here. Y'all stay here, okay? Those guys, one-way trip, go to Mars, that's awesome. Head out, right? We stay here, right? Okay. So that's what he was saying, you know? And those guys said a lot of other cool stuff. They talked about this web in the sky, right? And I remember being a young woman, like in the 80s, and listening to Thomas. And they would talk about this time that there would be a spider web in the sky, and that would signify a change in the worlds, right? And in the 1970s and 80s, we didn't know what a spider web in the sky was. We were like, what is that? You know, that sounds like a military thing. I was like, I don't know what he's talking about, but here we are in the time of the World Wide Web, right? Here we are in the time of Stargate. Here we are in the time of 5G. Here we are in the time when the energy consumed by Bitcoin mining and Google is exceeding the energy produced or consumed by many countries. We're in a time when this world that exists with the tech dudes, right, is an entirely different world. And that is the time that they talked of as the time of prophecies. This is my father. His name was Vincent LaDuke, or Sun Bear. And he used to also say many things too, you know, and he used to tell me different things, and some of you knew him. But he used to talk about that there would be a time, well, he used to say to me first, I always tell this story, that he came to see me one day at Harvard. And you know, he had about 8th grade education, but he was a very intelligent man, anybody who knew him. And he had a special calling. And he came to see me one day at Harvard, and he said, Winona, you're a smart young woman, but I don't want to hear your philosophy if you can't grow corn. Right? But he was right. You know, you could be super smart, but if you can't grow anything, you know, where are you at? You know, and I don't want to say that that is happening, but we have a lot of people that are not very connected, right? But that's what he was saying. And so I worked very hard to be a corn grower. I want you to know that. But he used to also say that there would be a time when there was no food in the store. And I remember that, and you remember that too, because we just went through that. That was the time of COVID, when they dropped all that food, destroyed all that food, buried all that food, right? And that was in the moment that perhaps we realized that food security would probably not occur on a ship, on a train, or a truck, right? That is the time that we remembered that we should grow our food. And, and he was right. And that time is certainly this time of now. So I have not been here for a long time. I was trying to remember, but I remember being here then. And this is the pictures that Kunu was showing you. I remember talking with Lane County, the Rights of Nature group at a church. And at the time I was at the church, I had left Standing Rock and I had come here. And this is what occurred on Backwater Bridge. There was this full-on assault, $38 million worth of military equipment. A lot of people hurt. A lot of special forces came out, all for the purpose of late-stage fossil fuel addiction, right? This is what addicts do. The problem is being an addict, you make a lot of bad decisions, and you do a lot of bad stuff. And I bet everybody in this room has some experience with an addict, right? Because I know that and I've seen it. But that's what this society does, right? And so we're at a point where the addiction level is so high that we just rampage, destroy things, hurt a lot of people for the greed of fossil fuel corporations and oil companies. So this was the night when they opened up on the people on Backwater Bridge. And I was here, and that was the last time I was here. And I found that to be very interesting. That was a long time ago, So I recall a few things that happened since I visited with you last. This is some more pictures from Standing Rock. And I was at a trial there in March. I was a federal witness in the trial of North Dakota versus the United States, where the state of North Dakota was trying to get somebody to pay the $38 million that they spent, and they wanted the United States to pay for it. And so the U.S. called me up one day. It's a funny thing to say. The U.S. attorney called me up one day and said, "Winona, would you consider being a witness for the United States?" To which, first when the U.S. attorney calls you, you gulp. Does that make sense? You're all like, yeah. And what can I help you with? That's kind of how that conversation went. And the guy says, "Could you consider being a witness for the United States?" I said, "Probably not." Why would I be? You know what I'm saying? This doesn't sound like something that you're going to want to do, right? And he says, "Well, how about if there's this case in North Dakota where the state of North Dakota is trying to sue the United States because they issued a conditional use permit for what was a floodplain, and y'all came out there, and now the state of North Dakota says that the United States is responsible for Standing Rock because they issued a permit." So let me ask you a question, Ms. LaDuke. Did you go to Standing Rock because the Army Corps of Engineers issued a permit? I said, no. I said I went because I'm a water protector, right? That's how we all went. I went because the Lakota people asked me to go. I went because we had defeated a pipeline known as the Sandpiper, an Enbridge pipeline destined to bring fracked oil across our territory. And instead of doing the pipeline across our territory after we defeated them, Enbridge financed 28% of the Dakota Access Pipeline. So I went because of that. And this is what it looked like, and it's so nice to be with you tonight because next week I'm going to the trials. And those are, so Standing Rock doesn't end. The state of North Dakota has been prosecuting water protectors, 800 for years, and now is trying to see if they can destroy Greenpeace. And so there's a jury trial in Morton County that they're at, and they say Greenpeace is actually responsible for Standing Rock. At first it was the U.S. and now it's Greenpeace, but as far as I know, we were all responsible for Standing Rock, right? I was there. That's right, I was there. Nobody told me. Nobody from Greenpeace told me what to do. Nobody from the Army Corps of Engineers told me what to do. I went because the Creator said, "Go on out there, girl," right? So anyway, it's nice. I'm going to bring this love with me to Mandan. Can I do that? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Bring my love to the deep north. That's what we call North Dakota, the deep north. I'll bring the love back. So this is what else I was doing past little while. After that, they did line 3. We tried everything to stop that pipeline, did not. Did a lot of standing like this, standing in front of a lot of equipment. I bet a lot of you have done the same thing, right? Sit in front of a lot of equipment and then faced a lot of arrests. This was my favorite arrest. On the river, I was one of 7 women arrested, sitting in those chairs for hours. I learned a little trick. I learned it earlier in my movement history, and the trick is to wear Depends. Just passing that one on in case you needed it at some point in time. You know, but I didn't actually use it. I don't want to share that with you, except for that it was a complete drought. And so I just sat there for like 4 hours, singing with my sisters. We sang all these songs. Those are my grandchildren or my children on those horses behind us. And then at a certain point, it was a drought. Did I ever say that already? It poured. For the first time in a month and a half, it poured. And we were so grateful. And that's when the cops decided to arrest us because it was raining, right? Sounds about right. But you know what happens when you're wearing a Depends in a downpour? Y'all got me on that one, right? I was like walking into jail, hiking up my Depends, which is like now disintegrating on my way to the jail cell. And they were like looking at me. I was like, sorry, not really, but sorry, you know. Anyway, I'm just passing on some movement history. Anyway, bad things have happened too. This is, things that have happened. Fort McMurray. Oh yeah, this happened too. And then this is the latest thing that happened. What is this? Are they going to try to start Trojan again? I mean, what the hell, right? You know, didn't we fight these guys off because it was a bad idea 40 years ago? It's still a really bad idea. You know, and this is all for what? Google, Microsoft, and Bitcoin mining, right? Yeah, that's some crazy ass shit. Should we just say that one more time? I was like, yeah, it was bad then, it's really bad now. And so this is kind of their agenda, and this is things that we must step up for because we happen to be the people who are here. You know, look around, there's like, we're the ones. We are the people who live in the time of prophecies. We are people who are living in the time of prophecies. And so that is a great, great moment to be in. So keep that in your hearts as you stand up, you muster up the courage, you have thinking, prayers, and we work together to challenge bad ideas, because that's what we do. Spend a whole life fighting bad ideas, right? And sometimes you win. If you do not fight, you do not win. That's how that works. I saw that we won on Jordan Cove, didn't we? Right, that is right. You know, and I was just out on the Mole Lake Reservation in Wisconsin, and I had to go look at the mine site that that tribe bought. They bought the mine site after BHP Billiton and Rio Tinto Zinc and Kennecott and Exxon tried to mine. The tribe just one day, they just bought that damn mine site. $26 million it cost them. But you know what? No mine. No mine. So just remember, that's how it works. You got to figure out the strategy, and there's no one strategy. There's many, and we all have our part. But okay, so what else I've been doing? Well, this is what happened to me in the pandemic. I just want to say, I moved to the farm, began to be a corn grower, and I was a corn grower before. And this is in the height of the pandemic. What happened is that a bunch of mostly grandsons, nephews, other people's sons and grandsons moved in with me. They're like, we don't have school, but you got horses. I was like, yeah, let's do this, right? And some of these kids had been at Standing Rock. I seen River was here, and they knew some of these kids. We camped with him down there. But here is who moved in with me on the farm. A lot of them still stay with me. And I'm gonna tell you what, I don't know how to say this to y'all, but you know, it's not even in light of the present situation. But you know, I got more belief in those kids than my Social Security and 401k. You know what I'm saying? Who is caring for and teaching and training those who will come behind us to care for this land? You know, that is your retirement plan, those guys, right? A lot of you are my retirement plan too. You know, that is what we must do. We must always teach each other, you know, and teach those that are still coming what it is we can do. So let me talk about some things that I think we need to do and where we are going. And I like to call this the Sitting Bull Plan. And I do that because, you know, they name all those big plans after white guys, like the Marshall Plan, you know what I mean? The guy named it after someone, so I think Sitting Bull is your guy, you know. I am not a hunk papa, but he was a great political leader. He was a spiritual leader. He lived with his people, and he said he led many great and profound victories in many levels. But he said many things, and one of the things he said is, let us put our minds together to see what kind of future we can make for our children. Let us put our minds together to see what kind of future we can make for our children. And I repeat that because the truth is that there is nobody going to save us, right? We all figured out Elon is not saving anybody, right? There is no techno fix for what is going down. There is no social change fairy. There is no carbon sequestration fairy. Y'all know what I'm saying? There's like nothing like this, just like special little fix. This is something that takes all of us to make these changes, to make that which is beautiful. And so let us talk about how some of those changes look. Now, this is some beautiful young women who are caretakers on the Klamath River. And they, you know, they had their prayers and their songs and their ceremonies. And I say that because that, you know, reaffirms relationship to place. Inducting them in the very land to which you belong. It reaffirms relationship through song, like those young people that were singing before, thank you, you know, and through ceremony. And humans can do that. You know, don't forget that we are beautiful. A lot of us feel kind of like jerks, ecological jerks, right? But remember that we can be beautiful and we must be our better selves. We must be our best selves, right? And in that, this is where you see these kind of women who are caretakers of the Klamath. And then you see that when their prayers come true, the dams come down, right? The dams come down, and when the dams come down, life can return, right? And you know, I remember, you know, a lot of us never thought we would see that, right? I was reading one of the great Yurok writers, and she was talking about how she thought her generation was going to witness the death of the river, and instead she gets to witness the rebirth of the river, right? So do not give up hope or prayers, and do not give up or back down in work, because it takes a long time to bring about these changes. So, and we must keep the memory of the movement. We must keep the memory of the stories. We must keep the memory of the animals. We must keep the memories. And that is how we make the change. And then you see it, you know. So we see this change in many places, you know. I am privileged. I am so privileged. You know, I got a great mom. That's pretty cool too, huh? You know, but also in my life, I have been able to visit many of our communities, you know. And I just like this buffalo paying peekaboo, basically, but yeah. We could say it's at Yellowstone, he's looking at a tourist, but without the rangers, we're kind of wondering how that's going to work out. It could be really fun this year, huh? Nobody to tell him to quit, you know? It's like unbelievable, the things that go on out there. Oh my God, it does entertain. It is a little dangerous, but it is kind of entertaining sometimes. All right, so, you know, single largest migratory herd in the world, right? And decimated, but now you see the beginning of their return. So you see that like 40 tribes have brought back the buffalo, right? And with them there is a work underway. You know, I work at a treaty rights museum in Minnesota called Gewadenon, and a treaty that we talk about there is the Buffalo Treaty. These are the new treaties. This is a treaty made of cooperation to bring home the buffalo. And this is how you do it. You make agreements to bring back the herds. You trade your genetics to make sure that everything is good in the herd. And you set up the land for the herds. And then you know what the thing is that when you bring back the buffalo, then the buffalo bring back the plants. And they bring back the birds, and they bring back the water, and they bring back the soil, right? And so that's why you bring back the buffalo. It's because the old thing is the thing that heals it. It's not the new thing. It's the old thing that's supposed to be there, right? And in that greatness, you know, that is how our responsibility and relationship is restored, because we do our job. Our part as humans, our part of the covenant, our part of the agreement. Then this is them signing the Buffalo Treaty. This is one of the first signatures of the Buffalo Treaty. But I just think that's the coolest looking teepee ever, isn't it? That's like the biggest teepee. I don't know, that's like in Alberta, man. Those guys got big teepees up there. And one day, this will all be hemp. Right? All be hemp. And this is me growing corn. Well, this is one of our girls I trained in growing corn. And this is me with my horses being borrowed by the Amish guy who is my neighbor. And so I'm telling you that because that's how we work together, is you borrow your horses to the Amish and then they help you out too. But that's what we must do. And so I'm really interested in post-petroleum agriculture, right? Post-petroleum agriculture. And so I think we should all kind of be into that one, right? And actually, so a lot of my work is with pre and post-petroleum agriculture. So I have farmed for many years, 30 years so, and I raise heritage corn varieties, beans, squash, potatoes, Jerusalem artichokes, tobacco, and then all kind of things like I like eggplant too. You know, but my point would be is that a lot of those seeds they're smart. Like that corn that girl is holding, that corn that she is holding, Terry Sue, that is a Mandan variety. I grew it on my field. I grew it because it's a drought-resistant variety. And I grew that in the year that they had a drought, that same year that I got arrested in a war that depends. It's 2021. I grew this corn. Montana varieties did not hold, but my varieties did. My corn held because heritage varieties are smart. They have a brain and they're intelligent. They aren't created by Monsanto. And so in the times of climate change, what we need to grow is the heritage varieties, because they're the varieties that can adapt, and they're the ones that are smart, and they're the ones that didn't need petroleum and don't need it now, right? So remember that as spring comes, and I know that Eugene is full of such cool plants. So then this is, let me see here. This is what I do. I grow hemp. This is when we're hiring a hemp project coordinator. We are hiring a new person here, but this is called the Field of Dreams. We bought out these guys called RDO Offit, single large potato farmers, really evil potato farmers as it is. And they contaminate this land, and hemp is really an amazing crop. And I grow textile hemp. I don't grow marijuana. Although this year I did grow 8 plants because it was legal in Minnesota. But yeah, very nice. I like them. But my main work is in fiber hemp varieties. And so I've been growing varieties, and you know, we grew varieties from China, from France, from Spain, from the Czech Republic, from Romania. And then I really like to grow the feral varieties. So that's what I've been working on with the University of Minnesota, because it turns out that ditchweed, that's what we're talking about. They try to eradicate hemp, and so it's been illegal for like 80 years, right? But some of it is hanging on in like all kind of cool places, a lot of them around some of our native reservations where the wild things are. And there you find these feral varieties of hemp. And I figure anything that grew illegally for 80 years is very tough. You following me on this? This is what you want, right? We don't need that. We need this. And so I'm working with the University of Minnesota because my stepfather worked at the Oregon State University at the Agricultural Extension. And so I was raised around guys who did plant varieties. And so what I'm interested in is is building a gene, the seed stock for building the seed stock for the new green revolution. That's the hemp revolution. That's the hemp revolution. But you got to have the seeds for the revolution, right? And you can't just have a few marijuana seeds. That's not going to do you. You need hundreds of thousands of pounds of seeds. So think of it this way, about 4 acres of hemp will get you a house. Did you guys hear that? And you could grow it and put your house up in the same year, and you can sequester more carbon with that than any other field crop, and you can have a house that is carbon negative, or is just, and you can do it in a year, and you can actually save a forest. Y'all follow me on this one? So that's what we're after. And so I'm organizing this cooperative. This is one of my guys picking up hemp. This is Breon Lake from Sisseton. He's got that's some French hemp there he's carrying back to Sisseton. This is our first crop. This is some of my sons, some of my family. That's what she looks like. They look like bamboo, And Oregon is like way too uptight about this because everybody got into marijuana. And what you guys need to do is you need to get into hemp. That's what you need to do, because that's going to save your forests. That's going to save your forests, and that's going to bioremediate what is going on out there. And you're going to be able to make paper, and you're going to be able to make houses, and you're going to be able to make houses that don't burn. That's why you want to grow hemp. So this is what it looks like, our first crop. This is the bag that we did with Patagonia. I would have schlepped it up here, but I did it. 2 years ago, 2023, Patagonia did a bag with us. That's my hemp from my field. And that hemp went to, isn't that cool? That's very cool, isn't it? Okay, so that hemp went to, just to tell you my story, that hemp went from my reservation to North Carolina to get decorticated. Then it went to Virginia to get degummed. Then it went to Mexico to get spun. Then it went to Washington State to get woven. And then it went to California to get cut and sewn so that we could bring you a bag that looks like this. That's awesome, huh? Now, the only problem is that that's what happens when you deconstruct a textile industry, right? And we used to make all that stuff here. And that's what we need to do again, right? That's how you do it. And so that is my next bit of work. It's going to take me a few years here, but there's a lot of us working on it. And this is my next round of hemp. This is my hemp that went to, our hemp that went to and got spun at Battencourt Fibers. And then this is one of my sons, or a couple of my sons, and a hempcrete house at Lower Sioux with a solar thermal panel on it that my guys put in. And that, I think, is the house of the future. And that's to say solar thermal reduces your heating bill by about 30%. Solar takes heat and light, turns it into energy, and then maybe you turn it back into energy or light. But solar thermal just gets hot. That panel behind those guys just gets hot and goes directly into the house. When it gets around 90 degrees, a fan goes on, thermostat kicks off, fan goes on, puts warm air in the house. So what you want to do is figure out how to consume less, right? And that's what we all got to do. We all got to figure out how to live a little lighter on Mother Earth. And y'all know that because you're here in Eugene, which is where cool people ride bikes. But my point would be, this is the housing of the future. That's my point. My point is how we make housing that is, this is my house edition, with one of my girlfriends in it. And that is hemp panels. They were put together in Bismarck, hempcrete panels, 6 foot wide, hauled out there on a semi, the walls put up in 4 hours. Right. That's the housing for the future, especially for a lot of tribal communities that need thousands of homes and have no trees. So I'm working on the Northern Plains organizing. Here's a little bit about hemp versus cotton and trees versus hemp. And this is a little bit about our little hemp cooperative. Do you like my campaign title? Let My People Grow? It's very biblical and all. Anyway, this is what we're working on because hemp is still like, a dastardly dangerous crop, which is ridiculous. If you really wanted to smoke my field, you're a complete idiot. Go get yourself a joint with some, you know what I'm saying? You don't need me to tell you, but you understand, it's like ridiculous. Just go get yourself a joint. Anyway, so this is, what I'm doing at home, and then I'm my mother's daughter, so I commission a lot of art. Because if you live in a 50-year-old housing project that was built during the Johnson administration and the war on poverty, what if you just painted the whole damn thing up, right? So this is the village of Pine Point where I do most of my work, and I got a bunch of houses painted like this. Cool, huh? And so people could come, look at how desperate it is up there, or else maybe pretty soon they'll just come and look at the houses, right? And then the next round's going to be hemp, and we're putting up about 0.5 megawatt of solar too, right? Might as well just rock it, right? So what is the lesson in this, I'm just saying I come from a community that nobody would bet on. Is that fair? Everybody would say, no, wipe those Indians off. Ain't gonna amount to much. And then, one day you look out there and you say, well, I guess no one's gonna fix that one for us, huh? And so then we just go and start fixing it ourselves. I guess that's part of what I'm saying. This is what it is to have agency. This is what it is to take your power. This is what it is to Jimis Awabandameng, make that beautiful future. Make that dream and make that beautiful future that you believe. And so we do that together. And we do that in community, we do that in our gardens, we do that in our housing. We do that as we, teach our children. I mean, in the shit show of Washington, take your power back, because it is ours. It is not theirs, it is our power. And, as we move ahead in our work, I came here to speak about the rights of nature. And what I want to say is that, we declared the rights of wild rice in our territory in northern Minnesota. The rights of the river were recognized in Aotearoa, the Klamath River. The rights of mountains have been recognized. And in Ecuador, they enshrine the rights of nature in the Ecuadorian constitutional law. And a few years ago, corporations tried to get into some of that territory. And the Ecuadorian Supreme Court, I think in 2022, ruled that the rights of nature superseded the rights of corporations. And, that is really that's post-colonial law, isn't it? And that's kind of where we need to be going, right? Because what those old people always told us is that the Creator's law is the highest law. Higher than the laws made by nations, states, or municipalities, and one would do well to live in accordance with the Creator's law. And in our jurisprudence systems and in our covenant, reaffirmation of our covenant, the rights of nature is how we reaffirm that in law. So, as I kind of close out this wonderful time I have with you, and we open for some questions or we have some discussion, and I give you my love for being here today. It is so heartwarming to see all of you and to see all the booths. I hope y'all go to those cool booths out there, buy stuff, and then y'all got to sign that petition, right? Right? That's what I think. Y'all should sign that petition. Because that's how change is made too, is sometimes you sign a darn petition. You do it all. But then just remember, that it is spring that is coming. And, this is a Zapatista saying or a Mexican saying. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. And so that is really us. Be the seeds, right? Be the seeds. Be the seeds of whether it is the seeds of the food or the seeds of the ideas, the seeds of the heart. Be those seeds. And distribute and germinate them widely. Because spring is coming, and we will need to be those people who share our seeds. Because that is how change is made. And that is how summer comes and food comes to our tables and dreams come to our hearts. So this is who I work for, Aking. I guess it's www.aking.org. Aking, the land to which the people belong. So miigwech, thank you for your time, and I really appreciate y'all. Miigwech.
Thank you. Thank you. So if you want to make your way, like that drop there, make our way to that seat right there. All right, everyone. We've got to really work. The program's not done yet. One more huge round of applause for Winona LaDuke. So Angela Noah is an enrolled citizen of the White Mountain Apache Nation, a descendant of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, and is a graduating senior in Native American and Indigenous Studies here at the University of Oregon. From, I think, 2019 to 22, or 2020 to 22, Angela brilliantly served the UO Native Studies program, the Longhouse, and the Native American Student Union communities as Miss Indigenous UO, and is the creator, editor, and host of the Young Elders podcast, which is available where? On Spotify, the Young Elders podcast on Spotify, and she had an opportunity to sit down, both of them, the other day with Winona. Kian Kiki Singer is an enrolled member of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation, where she serves as a mentor for the CTUIR Youth Council and as leader for the Stand with Native Youth to Save the Salmon, which advocates for the removal of the 4 lower Snake River dams. Kian is a 4th-year student at the University of Oregon pursuing a Bachelor of Science degree in Environmental Studies with minors in Native American and Indigenous Studies and Legal Studies. In addition to serving as an active member and co-director of the Native American Student Union, Kiki also served as Miss Indigenous UO from 2023 through 24, with a platform to support Indigenous higher education, cultural and language revitalization, and community outreach in the Native community. Kian remains culturally active by root digging, berry picking, fishing, weaving, sewing, beading, dancing, singing, and washat. So please, a round of applause for the seeds of the next generation of the movement.
So we are very grateful that you're here, Winona. So we have some questions we quickly made for you. The first one being, you've been really deeply involved in resisting pipelines and extractive industries. How do you stay resilient in the face of corporate and governmental pushback?
How do I what?
How do you stay resilient in the face of corporate and governmental pushback?
Well, I come from tough people. I mean, look at her. But you know, I mean, the other thing is that I don't know about that. How am I supposed to? You know, all of our ancestors had to make struggles. You know, you don't get to skate. You don't get to go through here with the pass. You know, some of us shoulder different things. We all carry different things. So just, you know, I don't want to say chin up, buttercup. Sometimes I say that though, I'm just like, come on, let's go, girls. You know, and then you reaffirm things with life. You know, you fight the bad guys, but then go do your ceremony, go do your dance, go be joy. You know, bring your joy to things. You know, because they're all ugly. You know, their behavior is ugly. they didn't even have good music. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember that in the pipeline battle, we would show up and we'd be like all dressed fabulously, right? We'd be like in there like khakis, all uptight, jerk stuff, you know? I was like, they don't got no dance moves, they got nothing. So just remember we got that, you know? So keep it and do it, you know?
Sound man back in the booth is an idiot.
Okay. Hello? Can y'all hear me? Okay.
Yes, so.
Okay, so going in more about resistance, as Indigenous students, you know, we're trying to balance the two worlds of academia and holding on to our cultural traditions. And what is some advice you have for Indigenous students trying to balance both of these worlds?
Okay, did you guys hear her?
No.
Kind of barely? She's asking about, like, as Indigenous students, they got academia and they have all of these other, like, what'd you say, like cultural and teachings, right? As well as struggles going on, and so how'd you balance? Okay, so my special trick is that I wrote most of my papers at Harvard on struggles. That was my special trick. Is I decided, like, I figured, like, if you got a Harvard education, first of all, someone's paying for that. You know, and so you better make sure that you get what you want out of it, right? And so it's really important that you're accountable, you know, for the gift that you have, right? And so I wrote a lot of stuff like that, and then, you know, I'm not very competitive, it turns out. I just never, like, you know, I'd see those kids sometimes, they'd be all like trying to act all competitive. I'm not competitive like that, you know. I was just like, I hope the creator thinks I did a good job. You know, so that's it. You know, just do your best, and then see, like, in this balance, and you can find it. You know, and then cut yourself a little slack. You know, cut yourself a little slack, cause you know, you got this chance at this college or this university, and you know, you guys get to learn. You get classes I never would have had when I was, like, back in the day. I want to go to school here. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like they got cool classes, so just go take some cool-ass class about something you never knew nothing about. Just because that's cool, that's great too, you know? Because that's what you get to do. So, I don't know, like that balance, but then also just, you know, yeah.
There's an idea.
Sorry, guys. Okay, so our next one. What are some ways that institutions, like universities, like ours, can do more to support Indigenous self-determination in environmental policy?
Well, I have this wish list. I'm sorry. I mean, you know, the fact is that these institutions, land-grant institutions or whatever they are, have great wealth. And that wealth came from someplace, right? And you know, there's not like a word for reconciliation in Anishinaabe-Moan. There's a word for making it right. Making it right. Gwean Kishikewin means to make it right. And so I feel like that all institutions, all wealth has to figure out how to make it right. And in the case of an institution like this, create the space for the students to carry out the work that they need to carry out. Create programs that relate to, you know, I mean, like for instance, our little hemp work. You know, you need a lot more brains at the table on that one. You know, so figure out how the university can provide relevant research and you know, support to Indigenous or, you know, to those who need it, right? Because, don't waste people's time. I should say that, you know, because a lot of times, you know, maybe I'm just getting impatient sometimes, but you know, these institutions can really support Native communities, Indigenous communities, and everything from, you know, applied work on watersheds to work on, you know, making sure these stories are kept, to proactive work on, you know, community organizing, profiling, all kind of work. give the space for Indigenous students and for others who want to support too, because we're all one canoe. We're all one canoe. So.
Okay, so this is kind of more for like future generations. What gives you hope for the future of Indigenous-led movements for environmental justice? How can Indigenous youth be more involved?
Did you see those pictures of my grandchildren? There you go. That's what you do, you bring them. You take them. I mean, they was camping at Standing Rock. Like, you know, we all lived in different times. You know, I am someone, I was reflecting, I was writing an article on my mother and I, you know, and how her work, how she influenced my work as a community organizer. And so I think about it, and I was, you know, not to go through the whole story, but like, community organizing is not a science. It's not like you get this many people sign petition, you show up this place. You understand what I'm saying? It's an art. You know, it's so many things, it's a living being. You know, so many things are happening. And you need to be like on that, you know, in that moment. And so I was raised, you know, I watched Walter Cronkite every night announce the body count of Vietnam, right? I remember that. A lot of you remember that. You know, that left a mark on me. You know, my mother took me to demonstrations. I watched them crack an egg on a guy's head in front of the courthouse in Medford, that old redneck town. You know, I watched that, I lived that. And so I saw people who stood in very challenging situations. You know, I was just in Greensboro, where I went to the Museum of Civil Rights and Human Rights, and they bought the dang Woolworth store and turned it into a museum, where they had the sit-in, right? Right? And so now we go there and you get to learn about that. And we bought, you know, the former Enbridge office. Did I mention that? In Park Rapids, Minnesota, they leave town, we buy their office, turned it into a museum. Did I say that? Yeah, right. Because we wanted to tell our story, called Giweidong Museum. That's where I work part-time, curator. But my point would be that you raise your children well and believe in them, you know, and that is what, you know, someone believed in us, right? Someone believed in us. And so I just do my best for that, you know, and then do as much as we can in our part to pass on as much goodness to them. And that also means take some arrests for your kids. Did I just say that? I had charges in 4 counties a couple years ago. I have no jail this year. But the year is young. You know, of course, they've turned a felony into a felony about everything I did, and I was charged as a misdemeanor, you know, because that's the way the system is going. But, you know, I look at these young people, I was like, I probably ain't gonna lose a job because I got arrested. I probably ain't gonna lose something because I got a charge. I was like, no, you know, take some charges for those young people. Take some charges for them. You know, that's what I would say. If they're gonna have a hard time, they're gonna have knocks. They're gonna take knocks, you know? And so I think about that, you know, and I think about how shameful it is to arrest elder women too. But I was like, bring it on, guys. You can arrest us all? Go ahead. You know, but then just do your best for them and you know, teach them as much as you can. That's what I would say, you know. Pass them the mic.
So, having run for public office, what was your biggest takeaway, and do you think there can be political changes in the government?
You know, kind of looking like some tough sledding for a little while, but hang on. You know, and then, I mean, I think that there's some lessons. We don't want to go through the whole process right now, but we ought to get our act together, right? Y'all got that. Like, I am someone who has tried everything to make change, right? You know, I've been arrested, I've been to the United Nations, I've been to Congress, I've run for national office, signed every petition, been at every hearing, provided all the testimony. You gotta do everything. Some of us have more, of a stomach, we'll call it that, or a gift for some things than others. Find your gift, do your part, whatever it is, because we all wanna have like allies that are there, right? Allies that are in. So I believe in change in those offices, I can't wait till Deb Haaland is the governor of New Mexico, right? And, and then just look at, my God, look at Claudia in Mexico, huh? Y'all been watching her, the president of Mexico? I was like, go Mexico, right? So, change happens in many ways. So just support that change and find your part, right?
So, I'm understanding that we're all here because we have a connection with the land. We all have a connection with the books that you have written. And so, a question I have is, how do you balance your well-being as an Indigenous environmental activist? You're not just an environmental activist, you're an Indigenous one. And that takes a lot of well-being, your mental well-being, your spiritual well-being. And I just want to know, as an Indigenous student doing similar work, it's tiring, and sometimes it's just so hard to pick yourself up out of bed and go to school or do all of this work. And I want to know how you keep yourself balanced.
When I was a student at Harvard, there was this guy named Masilo Mabeda, and he was a South African national who was a political refugee. He was a member of the African National Congress, right? The same party of Nelson Mandela. His name was Masilo Mabeda, and he and I were students together. He was a graduate student, and I was an undergraduate student. And one day we were sitting there in Adam's house, and we had this pile of books, and we were having some deep political discussion about the ANC and the American Indian movement, or something cool like that, right? And this one guy comes in, this is Harvard, this is called the Gold Coast, this house that I lived in, Adam's house. And this guy comes in and he says, Masilo, why do you work so hard? That's what he said to Masilo. And you know what Masilo said to him? He said, because you refuse to work. That is it. That is a part of it. It's like, we should not be doing all the work for all the students here. We should not be doing all the work for everybody. Everybody needs to do the work, right? Don't put it on all the Native students to do all the work, right? Don't do that. Because we're busy. We got stuff to do, right? Support us. Support us in our work here. I've turned into a student again. But no, that was really a significant lesson. But then, on the other side of it, in my personal life, where I live at the top of the Ottertail River, which goes to the Red River, and I live in an ecosystem that is also at the top of the Mississippi. I live at the top of the watershed. I live where the wild things are. Did I always say that? Right. So when I go to my daughter's house, which is on the other side of the lake, pretty soon we're just going to canoe back and forth across, or in my, my next round, I think I might just have a tin can to call her, because I'm so sick of the cell phone. Anyway, so I go there, and every time I go there, there's like 2 otters that live there, there's some swans, there's like one heron. And people ask me sometimes, who do you work for, Winona? They don't ask me that too much, but I say, I work for that heron. So what am I saying? We get to live in a beautiful world, right? And so my faith in this world and my faith in my responsibility is reaffirmed when I get to see that which is so beautiful, right? And so see that which is beautiful, because that's why we are here in this relationship, right? And restore yourself. And then make sure that you go, hang with your people, do some good dance, have some good salmon. I had some really good salmon. Got one cool deer hide from my nephew there, Mitch. Make sure that you do that. And life is good then, and you all know the same thing. Or, one thing I noticed, I have a lot of PTSD from all those cops, I had a lot of PTSD for that. And did I mention I'm going to North Dakota next week, so I'm just going to take this little bubble of peace with me in my rental car? Guys, that's like bad out there. But you know, I found that gardening really helped my PTSD. I don't know how else to say it, you know? But just go and do that. And, you know, I tell young people, a hoe is a garden tool. Right? We gotta remember that. That's what a hoe is, a garden tool. Right? And so that helps. You know, all that stuff helps, right? Okay.
Yes. So we'll end it with this last question. Of all the projects you have been a part of and started, which has been the most impactful and important to you?
All those projects, you know, that is just my life, you know. I get to work on all kind of cool things, and different things are super at different times, you know, and are absolutely important. But you know, over the course of my life, I seen we put sturgeon back in our river, right? And I look over there and it's like 25 years later and those sturgeon are having babies and they're like all over, and every once in a while someone says, I saw a sea monster in the lake. I was like, yeah, that's ours, right? You know what I'm saying is, it's like what we're doing here, right? Bring back some fish, watch some buffalo come home, swans came back to our territory, right? Buy back a lot of land. That was my therapy program from Enbridge. You know, we did the White Earth Land Recovery Project, and around 2013, I left them to go work on the Enbridge pipeline and buy another 1,000 acres of land now. I felt a lot better buying land, you know, seeing land go back for traditional ways and ceremonies. So all those things, you know, important. But I feel like that maybe one of the best things is that I get to hang out with people like you. And I get to say, you know, hey, I'm glad you guys read that book I wrote. I was wondering when I wrote it, if anybody was gonna read it. I'm actually gonna go do them, what's it called? Audio now. I never did that, but I'm gonna do that now. So stay tuned if you didn't read, I do audio. But anyway, you know, the fact that you can share an idea and someone takes that idea and it helps them, that's pretty cool too. Because we all share with each other, and that's how we, you know, get to feel bigger in our hearts, right? So maybe, I don't know, it's been a good journey so far. I hope I get to hang out at least as long as my mom, right? Probably not as much art, but you know, maybe I get some more land back and grow more corn varieties and help, right? And then, you know, right now, I'm on the edge of the new green revolution, that's what we call it. Because the green revolution was not so good in the end, you know that, like a lot of bad stuff happened. But the new green revolution, hemp can transform the materials economy. The word canvas comes from cannabis, right? You can make housing, you can make paper. And so I get to be in the revolution. That sounds pretty fun, huh? So I ain't done yet. I ain't done yet with that party, and I'm gonna continue on, so. Anyway, thank you so much.
Have a gift for you. So this is a necklace here on behalf of the Native community. Thank you, Winona, for all of your knowledge and expertise. We're so proud of you. Please come visit us again soon. Yeah, we'll come visit you. Okay. So this is for you, Winona. Thank you so much for everything.
So before we leave, for those of you who are leaving, hold on, we're going to sing Winona out of here, okay? So we're going to offer Winona a song. Is Jolene still? Yeah. So I'm going to invite Jolene Bettles up on the stage with us. I'm going to ask everybody to stand if you can, if you're able.
Hey, Waklisi. I didn't hear you. I said Waklisi. Woo, that's a little better. So speaking of sharing, we're going to share a song that was gifted to my dad by Celia Jefferson, who was a Klamath Modoc elder. And this is our Longhouse song. So the meaning behind the song is, when I meet you, I change you. When you meet me, you change me. So in that way, let's make sure that that change is a good change. So the lyrics go, Howina, Awina Winia. Howina, Awina Winia. And we will share that song with you, and I highly encourage audience participation. Okay.
One more massive round of applause for Winona LaDuke. I want to encourage you on your way out. We have the space until about 8:30 to 8:15, so stop by our vendors, stop by our community partners. There are Indigenous student organizations out there.